Today, I'm going to cover DNS. Feel free to interrupt me at any time. You can just talk in the chat window, and then I'll turn that off or on. And so feel free to ask any questions. I'm going to take over an overview of DNS, and then we'll take a look at Azure DNS and Route 53. So it's going to be like the basics, how to get started, and how to actually, one of my examples will be using Azure DNS with Route 53, which I think will be cool. So I'll save that for last. So, I'm Dan Colón. I have a few certificates. I've been working in the cloud since, I don't know, whenever it came out, 2012 or something like that. Feel free to contact me, ask me any questions. I'd be happy to help in any way I can. Today, I've already said we'll cover DNS, talk about host files, how DNS works, and some demos. We probably, the meeting won't be the full length, it'll be a little bit shorter. I didn't want to overcomplicate things. That's going to be very simple, I hope, and we'll see how it goes. So DNS stands for Domain Name System. You can sort of think of it as the phone book for the internet, depending on how old you are or young. You may have never seen a phone book, but in the old days, they had books full of everybody's name. You could look up their address, you get their phone number, and then give them a call. So the DNS is sort of like that. It's like, oh, I got a name. I need an IP address to get to that computer. So it sort of works the same way as a phone book. Translorate, basically, like I remember a friend's name. I don't remember their phone number. So I can look up their name and then get their phone number. Just like I know yahoo.com, but I don't know their IP address. And in fact, they may have several IP addresses. DNS was created in 1983. So in the 1970s, pre-internet, there's, just a few hundred computers connected on a network called ARPANET. And they used to have a host file. They would email it, or you download it every so often from FTP. And this would basically be a file with names and IP addresses. So, and then as the internet, there was more and more computers, it became unwielding to have to always update this file. There'll be typos and things like that. So that's why DNS was created. They needed a scalable solution for more and more connected computers. So DNS is a hierarchy in nature, decentralized naming system for computers, services connected to the internet. Basically, you can think of, I would say in the phone book, we have a name and then a phone number. Well, we have a domain name and an IP address. And the DNS server contains that information. So we'll take a quick look at the what's in a domain name. So, for instance, if we look at www.meetup.org, there's really an implied dot at the end. It's probably not, you don't see it on your browser. You can actually type it at the end and you won't get an error. It'll still work. It'll take it away probably, but it's implied. So the dot to the far right is considered the root. And then, you may see .org, .net, .com, .us. There's a lot of different TLDs now, top-level domains. And within those top-level domains, we have second-level domains such as Meetup, Yahoo, Google. And then anything to the left will be a subdomain. So you're probably always seeing www. Sometimes you may see w1 or admin, or, it could really be almost anything, a subdomain. So the subdomain with the domain, the with the TLD and the root is considered the fully qualified domain name. So you can say, because the full address of someone is their FQDN, the fully qualified domain name. So with that, I'm going to switch to Azure. We're going to set up a VM because I want you to see me set it up really quickly so you know how we get from point A to point B. And that way, while it's being set up, I can come back to other slides and jump around. And there it is. All right, so I've logged on to the Azure portal, which is just portal.azure.com. You have to have a subscription. I'm going to create a VM. This could be done, the VM can be created anywhere. So I'm creating a server that we can host a website. And that can be done anywhere. It can be done locally on your computer. The idea is we just need a public IP address afterwards. So I'm going to put virtual machines. I've already started one here, but I'm going to go through the process again. I'm going to say I have a subscription called My Examples. I'm just going to put in a new resource group. And sometimes what I do is I'll just put in the year, month, date, and then I'll put A because I've already created one. So resource name, it can be anything. I'm going to call this VM2, very unique. Region, we'll put this on the US East region. So basically, I'm accepting all the defaults. The image I'm going to use is a Windows Server 2022. It looks like it's $90 a month. I'm going to delete it afterwards. So this whole demo only cost me, I don't know, 50 cents or $1. Got to come up with a username and a password. And here it says selected inbound ports, RDP, remote desktop protocol 3389. This is a Windows machine. If it was a Linux, we'd be doing SSH, which would be port 22. This is not best practice, but for right now, I'm going to leave it port 3389 open. And then I can click next, 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 or just review and create. So I'm just going to click review and create to show you really all I've done is enter the username, password, selected an image, named the virtual machine, and the resource group. So I haven't really done much here. Review and create. The reason why I'm creating a Windows 2022 machine or a Windows machine is so I can set up IS information, internet, no, I used to know what it stands for, Internet Information Server. If you're on Linux, it'd be like Apache or Tomcat or something. So again, we see here, you have set RDP open to the internet. This is not best practice, but what the heck. I'm gonna say create, and I'll make it a tiny bit more secure once it starts up, and I'll show you that. All right, so this won't take long to start out. By it starting out, one thing I had mentioned was host files. And actually, let me go back to the slides. And let's see, let me go to, oh yeah, so you can say before the internet, we had host files to communicate with. Well, we still have those. And you can, on a Windows machine, it's just basically, you have to start Notepad in admin mode so we can make changes to it. And then it's going to be under Windows, System 32, drivers, etc. And it's literally called hosts. I'm going to just put quotes around it, so then try to, so this is the name of the file. It doesn't have .txt on it. So say open. It'll look like, actually it won't even have that. It'll look like this right here. To the left of the pound sign, that's a comment, but basically it tells you how to enter stuff. So here's an IP address, here's a name. So just like a phone book, IP address of the machine and the domain name you want to reach. to get to it. And here, implied is the dot to the right, which would be root. Column would be the TLD, top level domain. This is the second level domain. And Rhino here would be the subdomain. And anything else to the left is just subdomains. So I have my host file open here. We're going to come back to this. I just did this as some time filler. The remote VM to start. So the VM has started. I'm going to go to the resource. I'm going to go to network settings. And we'll see here's RDP, has an exclamation on it. That's saying that I have port 3389 open up to the internet, which is not good. So I'm going to just remove this. Leaving that security rule. I'm going to create a different port rule. Under service, I'm going to choose RDP again. But source, I'm going to say my IP address. This is still not best scenario, but it's just, it'll only allow me to remote to this desktop from this IP address. Now you could spoof the IP address. That's always a possibility. So this still wouldn't be best practice, but it's definitely more secure than just keeping RDP open to everything. And this IP address, 47.187.153.79, is mine. If I wanted to prove that, I can go to a website like IP Chicken and see that that is my IP address. This is not the IP address from your router, which would be a non-routable IP address. This is the public-facing IP address that's assigned to your computer so you can surf the internet. All right, so I'm going to say add. And so now, in theory, I would be the only one able to connect to this machine via port 3389. I'm going to say connect. I'm going to, what am I going to do? Download RDP file, and I'm going to say open. Say connect. I'll give it a second. I'm going to hit cancel. I probably didn't do something correct. I'm going to say check access. Not sure if that's a routable. It says public IP. Okay, the machine was still firing up. That was the problem.
It takes about 30 seconds.
Yeah, so I just, it also depends on the time of day, how long it takes. It depends how many people. And so now I'm connecting. It's starting up the server. It'll take too long. Obviously, the smaller the server it is, the more money you save, but the more of your time you use on waiting. I'll give it just a few more seconds, and then we're going to install IIS, which only takes a second. Still starting up. And let me see if I can move this so you can see my IP address. There we go. So this is my public IP address right here, 172.203.208.122. In fact, before I do anything, let's do some proof of concepts. Oh, I'm going to go 172.203.208.122. We'll see a spin. Nothing's going to happen because I don't have a web server running and I don't have that port open. All right, so nothing's going to happen there. So I'm going to say add roles and features. I'm just going to hit next. Next. And here, web server IS, they add features. Next. Do anything special out of here? No, we're not going to do anything special. All right, next. I may put IP and domain restrictions. We may play with it, may not. Anyway, so basically I'm just hitting next install. Why this is installing. What I'll need to do, and we'll see that it could not reach that computer. I'm going to open up the ports. So I'm back at my VM2 network settings. I'm going to create an inbound role. I'm going to say, hey, the service will be HTTP, which is port 80. I'm going to allow anybody to get to that machine. We're not going to do SSL today, but if I was, I'd say HTTPS. I might even not allow HTTP because it will be the point. And then I'll say add. All right, so while I was doing that, the server, wherever I went, is already installed. Because this happened while we were just waiting on it. So this is the default page for IS. So I opened up the port, and at the same time, IS got installed, and voila, we are on the internet. Obviously, this is a great website, so we'll make a slight improvement. Let's just make one quick change here. Make the screen just a little bit smaller so we can get to the bottom and type IS. So, website. I'm going to open up. So this is the page is showing, but I don't want that, so I'll just get rid of those. I'm going to open up. We'll create a new file. I'm just going to open it up right now. I'm going to say, I'm going to create a little HTML. This best website in the world. Just until now, because we're creating it. I'm going to save it. There's certain default pages. It could be, one of the default pages is called default.htm. That's why I'm putting quotes so it does not save it within a TXT extension. And we don't do that text document. So we have that page here. And as you open up more windows, it gets confusing. I'll hit refresh, and there we go. Best website in the world. Maybe I should have put spaces. But for now, it's the actual best website in the world. And there it is. So if you want people to go to this website, all you need to do is give them this IP address. May not be too easy to remember. Well, let's make it a little bit easier. Let's say we're back in pre-internet times, and we're going to give them this file. Right, I'm going to call it bestwebsiteintheworld.com. There we go. Now, when you surf the internet, it will always look at your host file first. Then it goes out to the internet to try to resolve that IP address. So, and this is leftover from the old days. So now, if I go to the best website in the world, voila, it works. But hey, yeah, I'll give you a little more proof. I can see that's, let's say, we'll add spaces just so we can see something really happening. maybe an explanation. All right, there we go. Now the problem is only this computer can get to that website. It'd be nice if I can allow other people to this website. So what we have to do is get a domain name. So let's do that. Or actually what I'll do is, let's do that, because that could take a few seconds. All right, so you can go to GoDaddy. You probably heard of GoDaddy, and there's other sites. Whoops, there's other sites that allow you to buy domain names. So I'm going to go IONOS, I-O-N-O-S. I already have an account. And I guess wasn't logged in. And I like to buy this website that I had called Best Website in the World. So let's see, where do you go? Order domain. Let's see how seamless this is. All right, we'll do a search. It's not available. All right, no problem. Here's one.info for $1. I think that's not too steep. I can do that. We'll say add to cart. I'll take my screen off camera for a second to purchase it, just to keep the credit info out of prying eyes. So I'm just going to the payment process. Let's see, it looks good here. Voila, and yes, that's all I can do. I have to click I read, whatever they want me to read. And it is purchasing the domain as we speak. Give it a few more seconds. Actually, I could probably just, yeah, it says, thank you for your order. So there we are. I've purchased a domain name for $1. Now, the thing to remember is they usually automatically sign you up for auto renew, and next year it'll be $25. So I just want to make sure I go back to, if I'm not really attached to that domain name, I don't want to have to accidentally buy it next year. So I'm going to go to domains and SSL. Every registry is slightly different, but very similar. And I already have AKS2023.com. In fact, this was one I bought for $1. And actually, last year it only charged me $1, but I forgot to unclick renew. I may have to hit refresh. Let's see. There it is. Confirmation contact deals required. Sorry about that. All right. Anyway, so I have to, I'm not going to set this up just so you don't have to watch me send an email back and forth, say yes, whatever. But I could set this up. Yeah, let's see. I'm just going in here. What I wanted to show you was, go to DNS. These are all, oh, actually, no, I can still show you. Okay, so these are just the default records they throw in here. And so if we were to go to it, it'll say, well, let's find out what would happen. So all I've done is purchase this domain name. All right, well, usually it may take a few seconds, but you say this domain name is part, meaning nothing's been set up on it. And we have different names here, and we'll cover a few of these. Like an A record maps it to an IP address. A quad A, 4 A's, map it to an IP v6 address. C names or an alias, so referring from one name to another. MX records are usually used for email, which we won't be covering today. You may see a text record, which is used sometimes for SSL certificate verification. So by me putting a text record on a DNS, I would ask specific instructions. Put this name of this text record with this value, and it would prove that I have control of the domain name. So then they would give me I'd have to pay for it, a certificate for that domain name. All right. So what we're going to do is go to, maybe I can use it. This is cool. So I just, I'm moving too fast for the internet. Anyway, so I have 2 domains here. And I'm just trying to think where we want to go with this. So I'm going to go to, let's keep demoing. I'm going to go back to my VM here. And what I need is to set up a DNS. So I'm in Azure. And I'm going to create a DNS zone. So a zone is for a domain name. So I'm going to say create. Everything's in a resource group. It's like a folder. So it's called EX. Best website in the world. Here's where I give it the domain name without the protocol, the HTTPS or the HTTPS. So best website in the world.info. Resource group location. We're going to do everything in the US East. It's got to live somewhere. Here we are. And I'll say review and create. So this is really just metadata. It only takes a second. You may have to hit create. Review and create gets you to create. Then you have to create. So it's not review and create. Let's go to review and then create. All right, I'm going to the resource. And we'll see that I see 2 records here. One's SOA, that's, I forgot what it stands for. SOA stands for something of authority. Let's do a quick. Sorry about that. State of authority, thank you. So, means the state of authority. What does that mean? It means that this best website in the world.info, this DNS is the state of authority for that domain name. So that's going to be important. And as we go through our examples, we'll actually see where that's important. These are the name servers. So a DNS is a name server is a DNS server. But a name server is a DNS server for specific domains. So I have my name servers here. I'll need to go back to, oops. Did I accidentally turn off audio, share audio? Let me make sure you can still hear me.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Okay. I accidentally clicked on a button.
No worries. Yeah, if I don't hear something, I will notice.
Okay. So I'm going to go to best website in the world. I'm going to go to DNS. Actually, I'm sorry. I'm going to go to name server. And these are the ION DNS, name servers. But I'm going to say use custom name servers because I want to use the DNS in Azure. I could use ION DNS here. And I can put my records here. Well, let's do that. Why not? And then we'll put it in Azure too. So I know my website is this IP address, 172.203.208.122. I'm just going to have that info there. And we're going to edit this A record. Right now, this points to their web server. Actually, before I change it, I want you to see what it looks like. So I'm going to here so I don't lose out. But I haven't saved anything. I'm just going to go to a different tab. By now, it should say this website's part. Okay, there it is. So before we had some error message. Now it says this domain is already registered because we registered it. Here's the, pointing it to this IP address. It's an A record, so it's a domain name to an IP address. I want a very short time to live because, so what happens is everywhere along the line, that record is capped. So when since DNS is hierarchy faction, it will first see if it has the information capped. If it doesn't, then it goes up the chain. And then the next server said, "I do already have this information cache." And but the cache has a TTL, time to live. How long do I keep it in cache? So if I was to put it for 48 hours and I made a mistake, this would be a very long presentation. We have to wait for that time to expire for my changes. So if I just put 1 minute, that information is only going to be cached 1 minute. Make a mistake, I can correct it. And generally, you want short time to live. You don't want, I mean, your site's extremely busy. You're not going to change it that much. You can, maybe go a little bit longer. But anyway, I'm going to put 1 minute for the demo. I'll hit save. And voila. Okay, so now let's see what we got here. We won't have what we expect, but we'll go for it. There we go. Still hitting that. So it'll take some time before that website is, their time to live has to expire. But also, it may be in cache. So I'm going to say IP config /flush DNS because I just went to it. So another thing is you can open up another browser and flush it again. Paste it here. I still didn't like that. No biggie. All right. So I had done the www and I didn't do it up here. So I had actually set the subdomain www.thebestwebsite in the world. So that's why it's still going to its part website, which is this. So anything that's not specified, dot the best website in the world.info will go to the part domain. And that's why it didn't work. So what we'll do is we'll just get rid of these records.
Oh, you can change that. You can change that to the your value.
Yeah,
record. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so I'm changing it from, so it's going to get rid of these IPv6 because they don't really apply. So I'm going to say, okay, that's fine. So, but they originally had it set to an hour. So, what we'll do is we're just going to come back. It'll expire and we'll come back to it. So I'm going to continue setting it up. In fact, let's see, I'm sorry. Let me close this. this. There we go. Okay. So we got an error message. I was sort of expecting that because we didn't set the web server up. But now it's trying to get there. I'm going to go to the virtual machine again. And I'm going to edit the bindings. Here it says it's, oh, I didn't even have it. Okay, that would have worked. But let's just do it here first. A lot of questions. All right.
What happened?
Oh, I had never started up the browser before, so that's what happened. All right, so let's see. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just I should have done that domain name because in theory it's an hour time to live. I should just switch it to the new name servers, and this will actually be faster. So it says it's using ION's name servers, which have captured that domain name for an hour before it'll change its settings. So I'm going to say use custom name servers. And this is where I would go and grab these here from the Azure DNS. And if you see, I don't know if you can see that, there's a dot at the end, that's the root servers. Maybe try to, all right, I'll put that off screen just so we can see that. So I'm just pasting the DNS that I have that I saw a second ago. And this will actually make the change faster. Okay, so now it's going to ignore all of these. It's not looking at any of these settings. I'm going to close this. Let's just close all my browsers. And I have, let's see. Then we will clear our cache. Then we'll go okay. Well, anyway, let's look at.
If you go to a MX lookup, you can see where it's going. Like it's a trace RT.
Oh, trace, yeah.
Trace RT yeah, trace RT. Then you can put that site. www.
All right, so it's going there. So we're just letting time pass. Let's do that.
When I say, MX lookup, there is a website. On the browser tab, just type MX lookup.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and yeah, just put that site now. Trace out that.
Let me make sure I got the. Is it DBAS or website? That's odd. I forget what I put. Let me make sure that's correct. Oh, I thought I had the word D in front. Okay. So this is a great tool, MX Toolbox, to troubleshoot DNS problems. And see what we got here. The DNS lookup. Okay, and I think that's the address we want.
Yeah, then it's a configuration issue. How do you record mapping? Yeah, that's the right IP address. Is it IP address for the machine?
Yeah.
Did you bind to the port both HTTP and HTTPS?
I did.
No, it's still going to HTTPS.
Yeah.
It says not secure.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. So, all right. Well, you know what? We'll do this. I guess
it is there. It is there.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. All right, so here I'm going to say with the @ symbol, it means anything aks2023.com if I don't have it specified anywhere else to use this IP address. All right, so now, and well, there it is. Best website in the world. So that was fairly immediate. So if I was to go back here and I wanted a subdomain, I'll just add another record. And in this case, I'm just going to keep doing that. Okay. So we'll call it test. So it's going to be test.aks2023.com. It's going to be, again, I'm going to just set it fairly short, 60 seconds to that IP address. I'm going to hit OK. There it is. Now, if I was going to go to test.aks2023.com, we'll give it a second. And there it is. So what's nice is, let's say you have a huge website and, you can have, /pics, /documents, whatever. Well, you'd have to have another server. If you want to expand it to different servers, you have to have another server to redirect. Hey, if it's you'd have to have another server to route it to say if anything to the right is in a different folder, go to this server. Let's say you're trying to distribute the load on more computers. Well, this way I can say the test application is on a different server and I point to a different IP address. And then this part of the application is on another server. So that's another way you can break up your applications beyond different servers. So this did not, just because aks2023.com went to that specific server, test.aks2023.com could have went to a different server. And that's just with a different IP address. Another thing to note is some browsers won't even let you do this without the certificate. Luckily, the one I'm using today, Chrome, allows me to do that. But some of them won't even allow you to do that. A few years ago, all of them used to allow it, but now they're enforcing TLS on the client side. The browser is a client application. That doesn't mean it's impossible not to do. It's just much harder. You have to get around it. All right, so let's say I have an organization and this is my main domain name, aks2023.com. and I have a department. I want them to be able to control test.aks2023.com, because let's say they have to get certificates for it, and they have to prove they can control that DNS. Well, if I'm the one making those changes, then they have to come to me in order for me to put the text records in the DNS to verify I have control of the domain name. But I can give this authority to a different DNS, and then they can control it. So let's say they like to use AWS. So I'm going to go to AWS. Route 53 is the same as Azure DNS. Obviously, there's always different functionalities. So I already created a zone called aks2023.com. It's as simple as clicking Create Hosted Zone, typing the name, and hitting Create Hosted Zone. That's literally all I did. So now I go here, and we'll see that for when I create it, so for instance, aks2023.com, the registry of that domain is IONS. In IONS, I told it to use the Azure DNS name servers. Here, I'm telling this, oops, I created with the same domain name here, but it has no idea that this exists. What I'm doing now is I go to Azure DNS, and I add name servers. But I'm going to delete this and we'll just recreate it. Or you know what, I'll create a different example so we can see it working in case I don't do it right. So let's say I can say, hey, I'm going to add instead of an address record, or is a name to an IP address. And quad A is a name to an IPv6 address. A name server record is, say, go to this DNS server, and they are the authority of that subdomain, and they control what happens. They have the records for it. So I'm going to just put a 2 at the end. So best website in the world 2.aks23.com. This subdomain, and again, I'll do short times, 60 seconds. The name servers of AWS, which will be these right here. So when I created this, it automatically created this record here. I didn't create this. I'm just moving this off screen so I can copy and paste. And there's usually, 4 for redundancy. I'll say OK. So now when I type that in, it's going to go here. And then when it's here, it's going to go to, I'm going to map the name to the IP address. So I would create another record. And I would call this, oops, best website in the world 2. And this would go to, that looks like the IP address.
So you're basically configuring Azure DNS to go through AWS name servers?
For that subdomain.
Okay, for the subdomain, okay.
So then the person in AWS has control of this subdomain. They could add subdomains.
Yeah.
But this allows you to break up who has to manage a specific part. So now I no longer have to help them with their SSL certificates. They can do it themselves. So I'll say create record. Now this right here, to get to it. Now, obviously, in IIS, I'd have it locked down more to where I'd have to specify it on IIS2. So this wouldn't work without me configuring IIS. Right now I have it completely open. And what I mean by that is right here when I go edit bindings, this is completely open. If I remove this, all of a sudden all those others wouldn't work. And generally that's best practice. So I would specifically add one here for it to work. That's all I'm saying. So this one, the top one's not best practice. This is best practice. But if you have both of them, then it's really just using the top because anything will go. Anything with the IP address, it will respond because of this record right here. And so what's nice is now in AWS, I can, let's say I need to set up a mail server. I can set up the MX records here. I can point, now I can't, this here, I can't say, let's say I want to create an A record, right? We're just going to call it 199. I'm just making something up. And we'll just say 1 minute, create record. All right. It may look like I did something here, but this will never work because it's not the authority for AKS2023.com. Azure DNS is. And IONS is saying the name servers use Azure DNS. So there's no way for anybody to ever get here for that record to take place. So it's because I have this subdomain from Azure DNS point to the Route 53 that this will work. And this is how I can give whoever's in the AWS subscription control of that subdomain or anything beyond that. And now let's see if, so anyway, this is a good, well, that's always good for, you learn something from failure, right? So this is going to probably take an hour before I can actually do something with it, which is typical. So you have to plan on your domain names, naming them, and short time to live so you can reroute them accordingly. Like sometimes, let's say you have a website and you plan to move it from one server to another. Let's say it has a long time to live. Well, what you can do is you can go in, make it a short time to live. So you're planning in advance. Let's say it had a 1 day time to live. Then you put it down to 300 seconds. So in a day or two, the time to live will be 300 seconds. So then when you make the change, it will occur much faster. And so I'll just show you one or two more things. So when we were looking at the root DNS, see if I get this right. Very cool. Okay, cool. There are 13 root servers. If we count, there'll be 13 here. And go to the slide, let's say. So like when somebody types www.example.com, there's really an implied dot there. It will go to the DNS root servers first. And generally they're going to say, oh, go to the top level domain, the .com top level domain. And so there's 13 of these and there's, hundreds of thousands of other ones. So what I've done with this is I just did NS lookup and I got the IP addresses of the 13. And this slide shows us who owns them. So VeriSign, NASA, U.S. Army. You may hear from time to time that the U.S. has stopped whatever country from using the internet or severely hampered their use of the internet by not allowing them access to all the root servers. That's one way they do that. And so I just wanted to point that out. Yeah. And so that was just a quick overview of what's possible and how quickly you can get up and running. This could have as easily been Apache on Linux. I find my biggest hang up is when you go register a name, you're trying to get that perfect name. You'll see that. That's why one of the reasons in the old days, .com used to be very hard to get. Oh, I wanted a good domain name. But now there's so many TLDs, top level domain names, .us, .info, .edu, .dev. You can get a more memorable name. Yeah, I mean, it's still hard to get some of them, or especially on .com, but you have more variety, and there's a lot of different price points. And, try buying one just for $1 and play around with it. You'll see the interface is fairly similar, and it's always nice to have some DNS, a domain name that you can use for testing.